Janus, I require clarification of something that Remus said to me earlier.
Oh?
Remus was upset with me for alerting Roman to the presence of a large pitfall trap full of sulfuric acid. The odour was distinctive, and he told me to go siphon a chicken. This is not an idiom that I am familiar with. Would you be so kind as to elaborate?
I'm sorry, I haven't a clue.
Please? I would like to learn how to better communicate with Remus. Despite his habit of mixing beakers of chemicals that should not be mixed, it is refreshing to have a fellow science enthusiast.
You might not like the translation.
I'm aware, but would like to continue regardless.
Very well, siphon means
to draw up liquid, to suck.
And I could only imagine that the chicken in this instance is a male chicken, and the same word can be used to describe a piece of anatomy.
Oh, that's rather vulgar.
That is Remus. If it helps, he's probably not that mad at you. That's one of his milder insults. Well, I am now ready to hear your explanation.
I reanimated them.
There are a great many things that should not be reanimated, but top of that list is chicken nuggets. Somebody requested my very worst insult, and Janus agreed, sort of. I've patted on a beep button to censor out the swears. Ready? I'm gonna... Patton, not everything there was a swear.
But it was fun to push the button.
I love it. It makes it sound even worse. Apparently I need a reminder about the rules about chocolates, so Janus is making me read about the rules about chocolates. Remus will keep his grubby hands off of Janus's chocolates. Remus will not lick said chocolates. Remus will not accidentally sneeze on the chocolates. Remus will not jump up and down on the chocolates. You have to stop calling yourself Reverse Jesus. Not only is it sacrilegious, which I'm fairly sure is the point, but if you turn one more bottle of my wine into water, I will be very, very pleased. Like Remus, it can vary wildly from day to day. There will be some days that I will have to add many new rules and amendments, and other times weeks can pass before I even have to reference the rulebook. I'm sure it will come as complete surprise that Remus operates on his own time frame. I do not like to keep count, however. 1, Remus will undoubtedly seek to make my count wrong by causing some new rule or an addition to a rule to be added. And 2, I am fearful that Remus might try to beat the previous day's count should I start keeping a daily tally of how many rules were added. There are no rules concerning writing implements. Yes, there are rules about what Remus can draw. For example, he is not allowed to draw stupid-looking eyebrows on somebody's face that took hours to scrub off, and where he might choose to scroll or write or create. My bedroom door, for example, does not need a series of suggestive limericks. But other than that, Remus is free to use whatever tools he fancies. To try and limit him in such regard seems cruel. Remus has a function, a purpose, an aspect, of which he is adequately good at fulfilling. I would not seek to impede him in this. It would be nice, however, if Remus would refrain from using more unusual creative implements in his art. It is off-putting to go to the fridge and find the carrots covered in ink, or paint on the ends of a packet of spaghetti. A more recent rule today. When playing board games and losing, Remus is not allowed to eat his or his opponent's pieces to increase his chance of winning. He is allowed to eat pieces that would benefit me, however, as long as he doesn't get caught.
Ah, Janus, I was looking for you.
You failed to find me.
Remus has given me a gift, and while I am grateful, past experience has taught me to be somewhat wary.
Ah, that thing.
Remus said it would help keep my lab clean.
That much is true. It is a little vacuum cleaning robot.
I like robots.
Remus has modified it somewhat.
Yes, I saw that he had added googly eyes. A humorous attempt at anthropomorphizing a non-sentient object.
I take it you have not turned it on yet, then?
No, I wanted to check with you that it would be safe to do so.
Safe? Yes, as far as I can tell. It will even dutifully clean.
There is something you're not telling me. A lie of omission, perhaps.
Well, I am certainly going to spoil the surprise that Remus has prepared for you. I'm not going to do that. So, Logan, how are you finding your little robot helper?
I have dubbed it Hercules, as Hercules was also tasked with cleaning in the Greek myth.
Wait, you like it?
I am very satisfied with how it is performing.
But Remus's modifications.
Are you referring to the additional noises it makes when it reaches close proximity with a wall or other obstacle?
Yes, the shouting, swearing, cursing, anytime it so much as bumps anything.
Another humorous anthropomorphic detail programmed into its reactions to certain sensory data. I find it amusing that an item with no pain receptors will say ouch when it collides with an obstacle, or swear when it hits a wall.
That thing drove me halfway batty while Remus was testing it out. It just swore constantly.
I like robots.
Fuck waffles! It's time for science! I borrowed Janus's hashtag of Janus Reveals to explain how we did the colour change. Don't tell him. This is butterfly pea flower solution.
Butterfly pea flowers have the interesting property of acting as a natural pH indicator.
Red cabbage does it too.
pH is a measure of how acidic or alkali something is. Thus, when you change the pH of this solution, the colour will also change to reflect that.
That means I get to add acid!
We will be using lemon juice as our acid.
Logan wouldn't let me use sulfuric acid. Ta-da!
I do wish that you would refrain from drinking the contents of beakers in the lab.
No. And no. Oh, really? So you've never ever complained about the spiky bits on my outfit when you were tired and chilled? I damn near had my eye out. Because you've all been so wonderful with your follows and your comments, we'll have a special treat in one of Janus's rules today. Janus is to keep his opinions about proper tea-making etiquette to himself. See, Janus really likes a nice cup of tea, but apparently that means unless he makes it himself, he has to slum it with inferior methodology. This is problematic when he goes to the light sides for a tea party because he can be a bit sarky. They pour boiling water directly onto the tea leaves. Not everyone has the same high standards for hot leaf juice. Fusspot. Anyway, to maintain a degree of civility, and the fact that I've got to get involved tells you just how sarky he can get, Janus will drink what he's given and not utter a word about it. Of course he's allowed to come and rant to me afterwards, but only for 2 minutes. He'll go on and on and on if you let him. I have a stopwatch for just such an occasion. Given that my hat is currently scorched, I feel a rundown on the rules concerning fire would be appropriate today. Remus is not allowed to use any type of fire accelerant. Remus is not allowed to encourage a fire. Remus is not allowed to cheerlead a fire with highly flammable pom-poms. Remus is not allowed to replace the contents of the fire extinguishers with more fire accelerant. Remus is never again allowed to utter the words fire in the hole. Remus is not allowed to conjure large quantities of pistachios in the hopes that they will spontaneously combust. And lastly, Remus is not allowed to engage in scientific inquiry into how many pistachios is too much for them to reach the ignition threshold, even if Logan is supervising. That reminds me, Logan, you owe me a new hat. Are you still in a hissy huff about the whole thing? You don't even like jam.
Not the point.
I didn't get one either.
That's still not the point.
Stupid, sulky snake and... Oh, I've had an idea. There we are. A jar of jam just for you.
But I don't like jam.
That's why it's not jam at all. Janus is jam. Red wine and gelatin. And you have to let me explain all about gelatin.
This is atrocious.
I made one for myself as well. Do you want to see? It's got gooseberries and algae and snot and uranium ore and gherkins.
Are those eyeballs?
Yes.
Congratulations, you have indeed made your very own jam, on account that no one else will want any.
Excellent. More for me. I don't really mind what the others call me. Pest, nuisance, Janus's pet hooligan. Doesn't bother me. Oh, chore. I don't like being called a chore. Chores are boring.
I think they wanted to know the mildest insults that you use.
Oh. Well, I call Snaky Face, and I suppose that could be taken as insulting. But Janus doesn't mind, because if he minded, he would have let me know. With his staff. And I call Logan Dork. It's kind of a thing we've got. I call him Dork, and he calls me a walking lesson in chaos theory. I quite like that as a nickname. I can eat vegetables, just can't grow them. And I like vegetables. My favourite's aubergines. I am calm, I am cold-blooded, and I am in control. Remus! I know it was you.
How do you know it was me?
No one else would think to replace the couch cushion stuffing with gravel.
Yeah, I did do that.
Change it back.
Well, I was hoping you would say that.
Wait, what? Remus, why is the couch writhing?
Because before I turned the couches into gravel, I turned it into leeches. Look! Look! Janus! Janus, you're not looking! Janus!
Wasn't going to. I wanted to mention that I don't think that Snaky McSnakeface over there is getting his vote counted right. You can't just trust what the silly serpent writes down. It's probably not the truth. Deceit. Janus, would I be right in thinking that you might have fibbed when asked what movie you would like to watch? Even when it was your turn to suggest the movie? For the last 11 movie nights?
No.
That settles it. We're all going to go out the room and come back in 5 minutes, and Janus is going to stay behind. And then whatever movie is playing, that's the movie we're going to watch tonight. Right? Right? Glad to hear it. See you soon, Snaky.
4 sugars. No tea needs 4 sugars. It's appalling. Disgusting, even. I'll bet there was sugar grit at the bottom of the cup, even though Virgil stirred it for an edge, clicking incessantly against the side. He does that just to irritate me.
Are you about done yet?
And Patton let the brew steep for far too long. Practically had to chew my way through the cup.
Oh, good. You're not done yet.
And they served cookies. Peanut butter cookies. Completely overpowered the tea. Never mind the fact that Roman dunked his into the tea.
I'm not saying that my method of making tea is the only way that tea can be brewed. But my way is the best way. First, you will take your kettle and empty it. Fill it with fresh, cold water and set it to boil. You will use some of that boiled water to pour into your empty teapot and cup to warm them. Next, measure out how much tea you are going to be using. This can depend on what type of tea it is that you have and the size of your teapot. I am enjoying jasmine green tea at the moment, but as the flowers take up a little bit extra space, I have to be a little bit more generous. Half a teaspoon per person is usually sufficient for a green tea. If you like a stronger tea, add more leaves. Do not oversteep. This will extract the tannins and cause the tea to be bitter. A less bitter tea will need less sugar, sometimes none. With your kettle, pour a little bit of not boiling water, never boiling water, onto the tea leaves. This will awaken them and clear out any of the fine particles that might have collected. This will make sure that your tea is clean and clear. Drain. Now, You will fill your teapot slowly with the water. Check the time. Different teas require a different amount of time to be steeped. The green tea that I like is 1 minute. After the minute, swirl the teapot and stop the steeping process. Enjoy your cup of tea, remembering to savour the smell and the taste. It's really not that complicated.
What a crock of lies! You pretentious prick, that is the most pernickety way to make hot leaf juice.
This is how I make a cup of tea. First, you get a mug, and then you fill the mug with water. It doesn't really matter what kind of water you use. You can use pond water, or toilet water, or dishwater, and then you take that mug and you put it in the microwave. Then you loudly announce, "I am making tea," and then you turn the microwave on. You wait 30 seconds, and then make the microwave go bing. Then you stand well back, because Janus is going to stomp on through, grab your mug out the microwave, and then chuck it in the sink. He's then going to rant and rave for about 3 minutes while he makes a fresh pot of tea. And then he'll hand you a cup. And then you're done. Easy. And if it's been a quiet day with not very much happening, well, you can chuck the tea down in one, or you can add 8 sugars to it, or you can knock it over accidentally on purpose. Do not knock over Janus's cup, however. It's just not worth it. Years of experience have taught me that there are some questions I do not actually wish to know the answer to. Unpleasant truths, if you will. Thus, when admiring Remus's artworks, I find it best not to ask his inspiration, his methodology, and most importantly, how he managed to achieve that particular shade of reddish brown. I take the same stance on the question, what's that smell? It's very rare that I actually want to know. I am very glad of the first rule, because being bored sucks mightily. I also kind of like that I am banned from making Janus tea. He's such a snob about the whole thing. Even if I wasn't trying to make the tea more interesting, he'd probably turn his nose up at it. Okay, settle in, story time. Years ago, I was in a bit of a creative slump, and it sucked dangling donkey bits, because I was bored and I couldn't rattle any new ideas out of my skull. I started to lose all motivation to even get out of bed, because what was the point? Would have been 4, maybe 5 days, and Janus came in to check on me. We weren't that close back then, mostly left each other to our own devices, or in my case, vices. And when he saw the state I was in, he didn't know what to do. He made bucket loads of tea, like he was trying to drown me cup by cup by cup, and soup. He made a lot of soup, pulled his heat lamp through and set it up, and he put on some atrocious music, and he paced back and forward. I think he was this close to going and asking the light sides for help. It was distracting, even if it didn't really work. I could see that Janus was trying, but it was also trying. His constant fretting was getting on my nerves. So, the next time he went to make a pot of hot leaf juice, I set up a tripwire across his path. He went flying, hat and teapot and all. He did not find it as hilarious as I did. And once he picked himself up, he demanded to know what I thought I was doing. And I said there wasn't a rule about putting booby traps about the place. And he said, well, there should be. And I said, even if there was, I would just find something else to do to make the place more interesting. And then I got a flicker of an idea. I started thinking of all the ways that I could make the place more hazardous without resorting to booby traps. Janus then came up with the idea for the rule book. He writes in the rules, and I wiggle my way around them like a tapeworm through intestines. It's great, because no one gets bored and things don't get boring. Knocking over Janus's cup of tea is not a clever thing to do. But I only did it the once, to find out what happened. Twice if you count the time that I set Janus's pants on fire and he leapt up and spilt his own tea, but that's on him. I knocked over his cup, and he went very quiet and still, and his nostrils started to flare. Then he started hissing. It was like a deflating life jacket in the middle of the ocean with no sign of rescue. It was an amazing sound. And then he smacked me upside the head with his cane, and yelled at me about respecting personal property. So yeah, I can't recommend making Janus spill the tea.
I know this term, Spill the tea is a colloquial expression for gossiping.
Oh, Logan, the one time you don't take things literally. Besides, Janus loves secrets and gossip, as long as it's not about him.
Remus, thank goodness, we need your help.
What needs smashing?
Nothing. It's Janus and Logan. They were discussing red wine, and I think they're both right, but neither wants to admit that the other might be right as well.
There are countless studies that show red wine to have health benefits. Alcohol is a toxin and therefore cannot be considered healthy.
They've been arguing for hours.
Yeah, Janus isn't great at admitting when he's wrong.
And Logan doesn't like it when he's not 100% correct about something.
They could be arguing for weeks. Fastest solution is to bonk Snakeface over the head and hope he forgets about it when he wakes up.
No violence.
We'll call that plan B then. I'm on it. You guys are talking about red wine? Ah, amazing timing. I heard that if you spill red wine, you can use white wine to get rid of the stain. Wait, Remus, have you spilt my wine? No, but on a completely unrelated note, do we have any white wine? That cannot work. It makes no sense. At best you would merely dilute the red wine.
And waste the white. Indeed. Really, Remus, we've talked about falling for every little piece of nonsense on the internet. It would behoove you to apply a bit more critical thinking. Listen to Logan, he makes a good point. Why, thank you, Janus.
It has come to my attention that Remus now has a canon. He has also recently discovered that Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture used actual cannons as part of the orchestra. Thus, I offer the following advice. Should you hear the 1812 overture, I would recommend running or finding a safe place to duck and cover. The same is true for the song Pop Goes the Weasel. And as always, the theme from Jaws should be taken as a cue to be on guard. Lastly, Logan in particular. I know that canon is a musical term, but I do not suggest that you try to challenge Remus on his rendition of Pachelbel's canon. Standing and arguing with him just gives him time to aim. I'm kind of surprised that Janus put in a rule about there being no live wires allowed near the kitchen sink. I mean, there are a multitude of places that it could be interesting to electrify. People's favourite chairs, bathrooms, metal door handles. I wonder if Roman would like a new hairstyle. Snaky face, wake up. It is an entirely reasonable hour to be waking me up. Something or someone better be on fire. It's Logan. Logan's on fire? No. Worse than that, look. Why is he sleeping in the dark side? We were doing a science and it got later than we thought. And he wanted some coffee so we could keep going. So I brought him here and I made some coffee and I put lots and lots of sugar in it so it's completely saturated. But when I looked over, he'd fallen asleep. This is hardly an emergency. I need you to write a rule in your rulebook that I'm not allowed to mess with people when they're sleeping. I've been going crazy with all these ideas filling my head of stuff I could do, like super gluing his zipper shut, or putting his hand in water, or shaving off one of his eyebrows, and I don't want to cause him grief, but all these ideas are filling up my head. I'll get the book. Thanks. It's not like he's accepted. He just told Thomas his name. I did that. Beat him to it, even. And it's not as simple as that. He and Virgil can't be in the same room without somebody hissing up a storm. And him and my brother, well, they always look about 4 seconds away from throwing down. Which would be really funny, because Roman would try to fight all Queensberry Rules style, and Janus would cheat. He would like to get listened to a little bit more. That would make him happy. So I do wonder sometimes if he's going to go and be a boring member of the Goody Two-Shoes Brigade, sing Kumbaya sodding yap in the light side. He says he won't, and I believe him, but he is deceived. Don't want to have to nail gun into the floor to get him to stay. But I might, if he ever tried to leave. Yes, Remus has some unusual dietary preferences, but I will not seek to constrain what he can and cannot eat. There are a few very specific items that I've had to ban him from consuming. Board game pieces, Logan's jam, my hat, any of Roman's creative endeavours, and any form of evidence. And his toenails. He had the habit of chewing on them at the dinner table, a habit I found particularly delightful.
Remus, we have been through this. If you are going to put things in the fridge that cater to your unique palate, then they have to be covered. The whole fridge stinks of shampoo.
Anti-dandruff shampoo, to be exact.
Oh, for goodness sake. Don't you mean for goodness snake?
Patton, I really didn't take you for the daredevil type.
Huh?
Well, Janus hasn't had his morning cup of tea yet, and so the nope rope is about to evolve into a danger noodle, and you're in striking distance.
What?
See? You can have your stick back once you finish your cup of tea and had a biscuit. No. Roman practices singing in the shower before he actually sings in the shower. And Patton, while he does the most baking, is not as good a baker as Logan is. Logan doesn't know yet that Patton is aware of this and finds it irritating, which is just delicious. Virgil. I have no gossip about Virgil. And lastly, Remus. Remus keeps very few secrets. However, although he delights in reactions of disgust or discomfort, he also enjoys making people laugh. Through his crude jokes and eccentric antics, a giggle will satisfy him just as much as a groan. Of all the sides, he is the one that makes me smile the least. Very few snakes are poisonous, because poisonous means that if you try to eat it, it hurts you. It's venomous snakes that unload toxins when they bite. Which means, I guess Janus is kind of poisonous. Because I can tell you for a fact that if you try to bite him, he will hit you with that staff of his. And it hurts. Hello!
Kiddo, it's nice to see you. Why?
Papa Patton, for no particular reason, where's the soft toy cockroach that I made for you?
It's okay, Patton. I checked that one over myself. No glass, asbestos, or explosives. Oh, I left it in my room. Lie. All right, I didn't like it. It had creepy, starey bug eyes, so I give it to Virgil.
Uh-oh.
Remus, is there something about that soft toy you'd like to tell us?
Well, you know how I said I modelled it on a cockroach because I thought I could get Patton to say
A doodle-doo!
Well, there was another reason it was a cockroach specifically.
Remus, did you put cockroaches in the soft toy?
No, but I did put cockroach eggs inside the soft toy.
And when are these eggs due to hatch?
Round about now.
Kiddo, I'm coming to help.
And he didn't even say cock. See, if we used animatronic taxidermy, then Virgil wouldn't have to worry about the puppy getting sick and dying because I already have cacked it.
No.
I could graft an extra set of eyes on the back of his skull so he can get a better lookout.
No.
How about something personal? I could give Virgil one of my kidneys. Or a candle made out of my own earwax.
Sure Virgil would love that.
Really?
No.
Hey bro, I need some help.
I've been saying that for years.
So funny. Listen, I want to make something nice to Virgil, to apologise for the fact that he's got a bunch of cockroaches squished into his carpet.
Have you tried saying sorry?
Yes, but I also wanted to give him something, except he said he didn't want anything I made, because everything that I make is disgusting and gross, and I want to prove him wrong.
And?
Well, turns out all my ideas are disgusting and gross. But yours aren't.
Why would I want to help you?
Because I am your most favourite brother.
Try again.
Because I know where Janus keeps his fancy pants chocolates. The ones he doesn't share with anyone. I've got to keep my grubby little mitts off them, but there's nothing stopping me telling you where to find them. You could help yourself.
Deal.
Virgil, I made you a thing. It's not disgusting or gross. It's a spooky stress doll. Roman came up with the idea, but I made it. I wanted to fill it up with blood so that when you squeezed it, all the blood came gushing out. But Roman said a squeaker might be better. Well, what do you think?
It's all right.
Yeah!
It doesn't squeak.
Oh, well, you have a higher than average stress level, so I thought a squeaker would drive you batty. So I took it out.
What's that?
I might have suggested to Roman that he take the squeaker and hide it in one of Janus's special chocolates. And it sounds like Snaky Boy just found the one with the prize. You want to go laugh at Janus sounding like a furious chipmunk?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Ah! Okay, unbunch your bits. You're doing my head in with that. 1 squeak for yes, 2 for no. You mad at me? Really? I just thought you'd hated that Virgil fell about laughing at your expense. Would you like me to remove the squeaker? Janus, are you lying through squeaks? Ah, crud on crumpets, you're impossible sometimes. I understood that loud and clear. I'm gonna get at the other side of the mindscape before I remove the squeaker. Regret isn't exactly in my remit. Sometimes I will take a joke too far and Snaky Boy will get all annoyed. But he understands that staying within the limitations of what is socially acceptable is not my strong point, so we usually make up pretty quick. I do regret that I once took Janus's hat and replaced it with a hat 2 sizes too small. I should have only replaced it with a hat 1 size too small. It would have taken Janus much longer to figure out what was wrong. Maybe he would have worried that his head was swelling up with some horrible brain disease. Janus would tell you no, but that's a lie. There was this one time he tried to stop me conjuring things randomly without warning, and I protested. I said that conjuring things randomly without warning is kind of what I do. I think he knew that, but he was stubborn and refused to remove the rule. So, loudly and clearly, I started to warn people what I was going to conjure. I conjured 2/3 of an elephant and a water sprinkler that sprayed blood everywhere. I conjured a 20-gallon barrel of car lubricant with 14 holes in it and a lit firework. Then I conjured a CD player that could only play Anaconda by Nicki Minaj at top volume and at double the speed. That was the last straw. Janus took the rule book and tore that page out. And then I ate the rule for good measure. Why would Remus not be allowed coffee? True, he often forsakes the water and just munches down on the beans, but that is still better than when he has chocolate-covered coffee beans. His habit there is to suck off the chocolate covering and spit the resulting bean at the nearest available target. When drinking coffee, he also has a creative approach to what he can add. Last time I dared to check, he enjoyed his coffee with too many sugars and mayonnaise. This is still better than his brief foray into latte art. I, for one, did not need to see a particular piece of anatomy carefully rendered in milk foam, complete with white dribbles going down the side of the cup. Hey you! Janus wouldn't want me to say anything, and neither would Virgil, but I'm fed up being the only one that knows what happened between the two of them. I hate keeping secrets. They itch in my head, like a tapeworm eating my brain. But I told Janus I wouldn't tell any of the other sides what happened. Not a rule, but like a promise. But you're not a side. Virgil left, and that sucked. It was kind of Janus's fault, but Janus keeps lying to himself and saying it wasn't the case, and I'm gonna start from the beginning. In the beginning, it was dark. I'd just split from Roman and been cast aside with all the other odds and sods that Thomas doesn't want to acknowledge or accept yet. And that was all right. It was like working backstage while the others took the centre spotlight. There was me and Virgil and Janus and the other guy. And for a while it was fine. Until it wasn't. See, anxiety can spiral out of control, and so Virgil needs the oddest reassurance. I'm not super good at that, but Janus is. Platitudes are kind of like a white lie. He'll tell you everything's absolutely fine, and he'll be convincing. even when the house is on fire all around you. And that worked really well, until Virgil figured out that Janus doesn't always tell the truth. That's when the feces really hit the fan. It was like a massive breach of trust, even though Janus was only trying to help. From then on, nothing that Janus said could be right. He would tell Virgil that he was glad that he was around, and Virgil would take that as a lie. Or Janus would lie on purpose, like reverse psychology, and say that Virgil was terrible. And that just reinforced all the negative things that Virgil thought about himself. And then Janus tried to say sorry. When Janus said sorry, Virgil, already super anxious, didn't believe him. He stormed off shortly after that, and Janus swore off ever apologising again, not if nobody was going to listen to what he said. I miss Virgil. We used to make amazing nightmares together, but he seems happy enough. Or at least, not bored out of his skull. Yet. He and Janus, though, miles away from reconciliation. I have thought about throwing them both in a room and locking the door and leaving them to hash it out, but then I worry that I might open the door and find myself down one sneaky boy or minus an emo nightmare. So I think I'll leave them, to figure things out for themselves. I think it'll be easier to be patient now that I've got this secret off my chest. So thanks for listening. If you tell anyone, though, I will replace your saliva with battery acid and fill your bed with lice and glass and then more lice. Recently we have had a new rule, just for Janus. Janus is going to learn to control his temper and not use his cane as a first resort when he's feeling a bit annoyed. Had to do something. Too many folk were getting dunked on the head just because Janus was having a bit of an off day. Janus is going to try and use his staff as a weapon less, or I get to modify it with an early warning system. I'm going to tie bones to it, because I would make Janus a rattlesnake. Janus, put down your silly stick. Unless you want to sound like a herd of wild maracas. Remus is not allowed to install an AI, malevolent or otherwise, onto any piece of technology, nor is he allowed to create any more computer viruses. He has crafted several such programs. There was Firestarter, which sought to overheat any device it was uploaded to and cause it to burst into flames. There was Crooner, which played James Blunt, on repeat, transposed into a minor key. It was unsettling. I never did find out what Ebola was going to do. Remus giggled too much and I was able to stop him before he uploaded it to the Wi-Fi. However, Awaken was my very least of Remus's programs. It was a particular piece of coding that proclaimed to have sentience. Remarkable, but not so wonderful when installed on my electric toothbrush. Starting every morning with a toothbrush having an existential crisis and refusing to activate was not conducive for my oral health and hygiene. I like that you use the word juice as a euphemism for wine. A little lie to hide the truth. But Remus is allowed wine. Allowing him to partake freely decreases the chance that he will turn my wine into water as revenge, or something even worse. He does have to be reminded that clinking glasses should not result in shattered glassware, but other than that, wine is not usually his drink of choice. There was a period that he became very interested in a specific type of wine known as botrylised wines. This is a sweet wine because the grapes that make it have been subjected to a fungal rot. I was enjoying a glass until Remus produced a photo album showing mouldy grapes page after page after page. So appetising. As with most things that Remus says or does, I do not recommend looking it up. Remus can come and go as he pleases. Virgil knows him well enough that he can make his own decision about whether to stay or go if Remus is in the same room as him. And Patton clings to some flawed notion that someday Remus might respect his father figure status. I personally believe that more encounters with Remus might hasten him from this ridiculous notion. No amount of bribing, pleading, begging, demanding will change Remus from his ways. In fact, it only seems to encourage him. Remus does like trying to push Patton into swearing, and I think he's gotten rather close once or twice. I have never heard somebody exclaim fudge with quite as much exasperation as Patton does.
Remus, from your body language and facial expression, I would hypothesize that you are feeling upset for some reason.
Janus won't let me practice juggling.
He wanted to use chainsaws.
And puppies.
Ugh. Did you know that the original chainsaw was in fact designed to assist in childbirth? In 1780, 2 doctors developed a hand-crank-operated rotating saw device to cut through the pelvic bone when needed in an emergency situation such as a cesarean.
That's amazing!
It was a significant medical advancement. However, it should be noted that given anaesthetic was not developed until 1846, the operations would not have been done under any modern forms of sedation.
That's even more amazing! Can you imagine the screams?
I think I will take this opportunity to leave you to your informative conversation.
Logan, tell me more. I don't think there's a specific rule about fruit and experimentation. Not even when I tried to figure out how many blueberries I could stuff up my nose. The answer changes, if you're interested, depending on if you use a blender or not. Oh, but there is a rule saying that I'm not allowed to put anything that's been inside me in a blender. It depends. Sometimes me and Roman will collaborate on a story, and that's so much fun because Roman will do all the boring stuff like plot and character development and setting, and I get to add the drama and the danger and the spice. Then we have a big argument about how the story should end. Roman is very fond of the tired old trope happily ever after, whereas I think more stories should end up in chaos and destruction and death. We normally go with what Roman wants, because Thomas likes him and his ideas better. Lately though, Roman hasn't wanted to hang out with me as much. Janus's evil twin comment really got to him, and he started to treat me like I'm something contagious. I could be if I wanted to be. I would be the best disease vector. Ebola for everyone. He has wanted to spar more, and I like that. Nothing like a bit of violence to bond with my brother over. He doesn't like it when I play dirty though, which means that I lose more often. If I'm not allowed to spit in his face and distract him, well, I can't match him for fancy frilly footwork. I would like it if I got to win. On occasion. For a change. But beating me makes him happy. And I do like it when Roman's happy. There's no amount of impaled rats or gruesome descriptions of Ebola that seems to please him at all. Remus is not allowed to attempt any form of surgery, but in particular laser eye surgery. He very nearly got Patton one time. If it can burn through paper, clothes or skin, it is not a light source. It is a class 4 laser and should be nowhere near the common areas. A class 5 laser does not exist and should remain a theoretical concept. And lastly, Remus is not allowed to aim a high-powered laser at a disco ball. The results were chaotic, destructive, and colourful. The blender remains an ongoing issue. Remus has developed a fascination with it, and as with most things that capture his attention, this bodes poorly for a quiet day. The current extensive list of things that Remus is not allowed to put in a blender includes hands, forks, marbles, acid, string, my gloves, clay, gunpowder and soft toys. He is also now banned from making fruit smoothies, for much the same reason that he's banned from making soup for Patton. He still carves little eyes, little mouths, and makes screaming noises when the blender is activated. This upsets Patton and causes Remus to fall about laughing. Janus does lie. He's deceit, it's part of what he does. But he doesn't only lie. It's more like the truth is a second language to him. He can speak honestly, but deception's his native tongue. This means that if you put him under pressure, he tends to revert back to lies more. I think he feels more comfortable that way. So sometimes you'll get more truth out of his lies than you'll ever be able to wring out of him himself. For example, he'd rather gargle glass than admit that he was feeling upset, so if he's lying over and over and over, you can kind of guess that something's up. I think I've got a pretty good handle on understanding him. For example, when he says, "Can you not just stay still for 1 minute?" What he actually means is, "I'm cold, too stuck up to ask for a hug, but would really like one." Or, "Please stop trying to do cartwheels around the kitchen."
Why do you
just
just admit
move
everything
everything
touch?
You are the guilty. I can hear you all arguing all across the mindscape. What's going on?
Logic should be utilised in finding this running amok.
Silence! One at a time. Remus.
They're all blaming me, and I didn't do nothing this time.
Logan, what is Remus accused of?
Patton had baked a batch of chocolate cupcakes and left them unattended. However, when he returned, they were covered in glass shards, rendering them inedible. Ruined by Remus, no doubt.
It does seem the kind of thing that Remus might do. Remus, did you use glass shards as cupcake sprinkles?
No. Even though they look all twinkly and appetizing, I did not.
There you have it then. Remus says he doesn't do it.
And we're supposed to take your word for it, Lion King?
Thank you for the promotion, Prince Roman. And yes.
But
But
I cannot really imagine anyone but Remus doing such a thing. How are we supposed to believe Remus didn't do it if we don't believe you, Sneaky Jake? Roman raises valid point, deceit. You have been known to tell fibs from time to time.
And Remus is the most likely culprit. Very well. I know that Remus did not ruin the cupcakes, because I did. Patton is always baking and rarely shares with the dark sides. And so, in a fit of piff, I decided that if I couldn't have a cupcake, no one could.
Janus, how could you? Spiteful snake!
I think I will take my leave now. I will mention that you owe Remus something of an apology.
Apologies, Remus. It seems my conclusion drawn from the evidence was flawed. I am so sorry, kiddo. Tell you what, let's make a new batch of cupcakes, and you can have as many as you want. You could help decorate. Ooh, can I make red blood icing?
Hello, Virgil. Oh, please continue to loom in my doorway.
It was me. I reached for a glass and it fell and it smashed into the cupcakes, and then I panicked and I thought Patton was going to be so mad at me, and so I ran away and hid, and by the time I came back everybody was already blaming Remus. I'm sorry.
Much as I would have liked you to speak up on Remus's behalf, I understand that feelings of anxiousness make it particularly challenging for you.
What happens now?
I get the cold shoulder for a couple of days, but Patton is forgiving to a fault, and things will settle soon.
You're not going to tell them the truth?
I do not think I will. Never mind that they seem disinclined to believe me. In this case, Remus's innocence was more important than the truth. So if I had to tell a little lie to get them to believe that Remus did not ruin the cupcakes, well, I am deceit after all.
I'm back! Oh, I had great fun baking. We made chocolate chip cupcakes and I managed to flick a whole bunch of globules of chocolate mix onto Roman's back. It looks like polka dot poo. Has Virgil come by yet?
Why would Virgil want to see me?
I'm not stupid. I know you lied about wrecking the cupcakes. Patton wouldn't have been able to let somebody else take the blame, and Logan would have just announced if it had been him. Roman would have done something grandiose to try and make up for it, and I didn't do it and you didn't do it, so at least Anxious Annie. So has he come visit yet?
No.
Did he say sorry?
No.
Good, else I was going to have to go and have words with him. Is he going to tell the others what happened?
Perhaps. He's quite distraught about the situation though, so it may take some time.
Hope it doesn't take too long. Patton's plenty peeved at you. Wouldn't let me even bring you a cupcake. But I snuck one out in anyway. Oh, it kind of got smooshed in my pocket.
How resourceful. Are those glass shards?
My idea. I used a hammer and smashed up a bunch of mint sweeties so that they're chocolate chip cupcakes with real fake glass. Remus, care to explain?
Explain what? Do I need to get Logan?
I am not referring to the current state of the kettle.
Oh, I was hungry.
So you put eggs in the kettle?
Uh-huh. I was going to put a pan of water to boil, but then I thought kettles boil, so I put the eggs in the kettle to see if that would boil them, and it did.
And the noodles?
Well, since the eggs worked so well, I wondered what else I could cook with the kettle, so I put a bunch of baby Januses in, and it worked too.
Two things. One, never again call noodles baby Januses. And two, I suspect that the noodles may wrap around the heating elements and pose significant fire hazard. Which is not a good thing. We need a new kettle that is not contaminated by the smell of eggs. Once you've done that, you can have the old one to do whatever you want with.
Done.
Good. Now, I'm not at all curious to find out if there are any eggs left.
I made extra.
Guess who's been learning all about this stuff called white phosphorus? It ignites on contact with air and it sparks all over the place and oh. Okay, I see. I'll leave you to your books then. Read those words good. Is Remus well?
It's not him, it's me. I had an excellent night's sleep last night, and as such, my usual tolerance is somewhat compromised. The ribbon makes sure that Remus is aware that I might not respond enthusiastically to his antics.
Oh, that is ingenious, utilising a non-verbal cue to avoid misunderstandings. Would you prefer that I also leave you in peace then?
You can come and go as you wish, Logan, but I detest our book club.
Our weekly meetings are hardly a traditional book club. We each both bring our own books and just sit and drink tea in peace and quiet.
Exactly. It is a terrible book club.
I enjoy it also. Hey Logan! Out of academic interest, which siege weapon was the more dangerous? The catapult or the trebuchet? An interesting question. It depends. A catapult was generally more mobile and used smaller missiles, while a trebuchet, which is a form of catapult, generally had a longer range and thus was more destructive and less accurate. You might also consider the ballista, a similar weapon harking back from an earlier time period. That's great! Thank you! Oh, perhaps it was unwise to have told Remus that.
I foresee no issue with Remus being privy to that particular piece of information.
Oh, that is reassuring. Sulk all you want. You're the one that broke the rule. And you're the one that chose this option, of making a public announcement rather than letting me modify your staff with bones. So get your finger out and get on with it.
I will not use my staff as a first resort when I am angry. However, I would argue that I wasn't angry, but livid.
Don't care, not the point. You wound Roman without proper warning.
He was singing that song.
He doesn't know that you have a particularly volatile and violent reaction to Anaconda by Nicki Minaj.
I suspect he might have something of an inkling now, though. I've been asked by Remus to provide clarification on the classification of a laser. The word laser is an acronym. It stands for Light Amplification of Stimulated Emissions of Radiation. While a magnifying glass directing sunlight into a small focal point seems like it might qualify, the beam is not intense enough to class it as a laser.
It can still burn a hole in my hat.
Indeed. A magnifying glass and strong sunlight can concentrate a beam to a point of ignition, and it can burn nearby objects. Caution is advised.
But, really super importantly, magnifying glasses and sunlight are not classed as a laser. So I didn't break any rules.
Rules?
Remus, I am so pleased that you are right. Me too. Thanks, Logan. You're so smart. Remus, you've been worryingly occupied this afternoon. What are you up to?
Maths.
Maths?
I want to make Roman a new sword, a better sword, a sharper sword, and I want to forge it with the blood of his enemies because I thought that'd be fun. Don't look at me like that. You're safe. Unless you wanted to donate a pint or 5?
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. Given that the average person has only got 4 grams of iron in their blood, even when fully exsanguinated, and that you're going to have to expect a little bit of wastage from the extrapolation process, cross-referenced with the estimated weight of the sword that Roman already uses, it's going to be 359 enemies needed. I don't think Roman has that many. Why do you have to be so good?
How very selfish of him to ruin your plans.
I know, right? Is that a corpse? Oh, just Virgil. You're shaking like an out-of-control vibrator. You having a panic attack? I'll get help. Pattern! Logan! Roman? Second-hand ass wipes. There's nobody about, so you're stuck with me. You've got to get your breathing slow. So, next time you take a breath, imagine like I fill the air with neurotoxins. You can hold it. Good. Good. And when you next breathe out, you've got to do it slowly so you don't rupture a lung. Good. You got this. And then when you take a breath, you've got to do it very softly because there's a man-eating tiger and it's hungry. That's it. You got this, Verge. I'll leave you in peace. Or I could stay. I can stay. Logan! There you are! I've been looking all over. I found out something that I think you might like to learn, and I made you a present.
Remus, I embrace acquiring new knowledge.
So, you like jam, and so I was looking into jams and all the stuff that gets put into jams, and I discovered something really, really shocking. Did you know that strawberries and raspberries and blackberries are not actually berries at all? They're called aggregate fruits. But cucumbers and bananas are berries. So are avocados and tomatoes. So I made you a jam made of nothing but real berries. I had some pickled gherkins in there as well, because I like gherkins. It came out kind of lumpy, and Janus tasted some and said it was absolutely delicious. I wouldn't actually eat any, but it is very scientifically accurate. And gross on toast.
Thank you.
There are a few rules regarding alcohol and the consumption of alcohol. Do not turn my wine into water, no absinthe for breakfast, and please stop putting worms in drinks. Even tequila, they're the wrong type of worms. We did have a cocktail evening, rather recently. We extended an open invitation to the lights, and it was an event. I let Remus mix the drinks because I didn't want to be burdened behind the bar. He made dirty, dirty martinis with mud. He also garnished the cocktails with eyeballs instead of olives, although both are rather unappealing. Ugh, olives. None of this was as problematic, however, as the fact that he served all of his drinks in pint glasses. As such, cocktail evenings are cancelled until further notice to allow everyone time to recover. Oh, why are you so grumpy? People like balloons as decorations.
Not when they are filled with hornets.
And those critters really didn't like getting stuffed into the balloons.
Filled with angry hornets.
You gotta say, though, right up until the screaming started, Patton liked his balloon bouquet. Logan, tell me more gruesome medical stuff they did before they discovered anaesthetics.
Actually, you might enjoy the story of how a doctor developed spinal anaesthetic.
Go on.
August Breyer of Germany in 1898 invented an injection into the spinal cord which would numb the pain but allow the patient to remain conscious. This is highly useful for those who cannot be put under general anaesthesia. He first intended to experiment on himself, but there was an issue with the needle, so his assistant, August Hildebrand, stepped in. Once the spinal cord anaesthetic was administered and had taken effect, they plucked hairs from the assistant, burnt his skin with a cigar, and hit him in the shins with a hammer, amongst other things. The assistant was conscious throughout the whole procedure and able to report feeling no pain. Afterwards, he did suffer the effects of the injuries.
We should do that experiment, because good science can be recreated. You have to inject me, though. I'm not allowed to inject anything into anyone. One of the rules.
I beg your pardon?
Janus says I have a worryingly lax grip on what should be contained within a syringe. You didn't like the acid, or the tapeworm eggs. After rigorous scientific testing, it would seem that you can't use an empty kettle to make popcorn. What you can do is use an empty kettle and some popcorn kernels to make a significant dent in the kitchen counter. Kiddo, I'm here now. It's okay. Take my hand. Deep breath in. Hold it. And exhale. That's it. And you can squeeze my hand to know that you're not alone. Deep breath in. Hold it. And exhale. That's it. You're doing well. You're doing so well. I'm proud of you, kiddo.
Pat?
Breathing in really sucks, doesn't it?
Thanks, Popstar.
You are very welcome, Virgil. Remus, please continue pouting. It is not at all getting tiresome. It is a barbaric practice anyway. Besides, I am baffled you did not do more research before getting quite so excited by the concept.
Patton had Logan put blocks on the internet, so I thought that when everything came back blocked, it must be extra naughty. And I've been practicing for weeks.
You are going to take that last comment, put it in a lead-lined box, and deposit it at the bottom of the ocean, never to be spoken of again. Look, I know you're disappointed to learn that cockfighting involves chickens, but it's time to move on. This is my favourite teapot. It is durable, retains heat well, and as it is made of cast iron, I had assumed it to be fairly Remus-proof. As usual, however, he has gone out of his way to prove me wrong. Do not know how he managed it, but he has magnetised my teapot.
I used electromagnets and a hammer.
As such, the lid is now difficult to remove.
You also shouldn't put cornflakes in it.
Pardon?
No cornflakes, or any cereal really. Cereals are high in iron, and iron can be magnetically removed with a magnet, which your teapot now is. So it would get all covered in tiny little iron filings on the inside, which wouldn't taste good. Blood also has iron in it, but since the iron in blood is a dipole and magnets repel it rather than attract it, you can still put as much blood in your teapot as you like.
I shall bear that in mind. The other nice thing about my teapot is that it has a decent heft to it. Should I feel the need to connect it with a certain someone's skull, should they meddle with it in the future.
Hi, Janus. Bye, Janus. Get back here, you vile, villainous vandal.
Whoopsie. Let me make sure I've got this clear. You, Remus, suggested a animal movie to Patton for movie night.
Yes.
The movie that you suggested was Cujo, a film about a rabid dog that terrorizes the cast list.
Yes. It's a great movie, but the ending of the book is better.
By better, I assume you mean more gruesome.
Yes, but I made sure that Patton didn't miss out because I did a dramatic reading of the ending of the book. Patton was moved to tears by my performance. It was so good.
Remus enjoys novelty and variety. As such, he is allowed to decorate one wall of the Darkside Common area however he pleases. The result is an ever-changing, ongoing mural, art installation, collage, and I try very hard not to impede on his creative expression. However, there are some rules to ensure that the shared space remains suitable for all. Remus is not allowed to use anything that will rot or is currently rotting as part of the decoration or paint. Remus is not allowed to install motion sensor activated dart guns or cannons. Remus, despite liking the glow, is not allowed to use anything radioactive. There is a maximum number of disco balls allowed to be in the common area at any one time. This is 4. Commiserations.
I beg your pardon?
Well, it would seem that Remus has decided that he would like to be your friend. I'm very sorry.
That would explain the increased frequency of his visits. He's also been bringing me items as gifts.
Remus is a creative. He enjoys making things. Importantly, you do not have to like the things that he makes. Some of his gifts can be delightful.
Should I reciprocate in kind?
If you wish. I don't think he expects it, however. And it can be something of a challenge to find a suitable gift for Remus. Anything he wants he can create. A good starting point is to imagine the thing that you would least like to find at the foot of your bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. Remus is likely to appreciate something like that. I would add, however, that Remus enjoys learning, and you've been providing a great deal of information over various ghastly and gruesome topics. Remus has been regaling me with these disturbing facts, usually over dinner. I found him sat next to the oven one time. He said he was keeping an eye on Patton's cookies, but I think that was a lie because some of the cookies ended up burnt, and not everybody likes cookies as carcinogenic as me. He has a heat lamp as well, but he'll swear blind that it's for light exposure and vitamin D. Vitamin D. He doesn't like to admit that he's cold-blooded. I think he doesn't want to give Roman any more things to mock him over. This means he's a bit secretive about what about him is snake-like. I still haven't figured out if he's got toes, because snakes don't have toes. Oh, but Logan is super smart. I wonder if he could help me find out. Remus, I'm going to offer you this opportunity to explain what you've done. You'll have to be more specific. I've been super busy today. First I did some sketching. I'm working on a new still life series with lots of body bits. The eyeballs and toes is my favourite one because the toe is a fungal infection. Then I made some toast. Then I forgot about the toast. Then I had blackened toast and shampoo and it was delicious. Then I made 3 goats and sent them to the light side. And then And that's what you probably want to talk to me about, huh? Wait. Patton said that they had successfully managed to corral all but one of the goats. But he said there were 4. See, I very helpfully wrote some numbers on the goats. On goat number 1, I wrote a big 1. And on goat number 2, I wrote a 2. And on goat number 3, I wrote a 4. So the light sides are currently occupied trying to find a goat with the number 3 written upon it. That doesn't exist. A wild goat chase. That is delightfully devious and deceptive. I'm not impressed. It's fun. I like finding loopholes around all the things that Janus has declared a rule. Like, recently he said, you can't have a mirror that is haunted or cursed. So that didn't stop me replacing a mirror with a digital screen with a programmed-in shatter effect jump scare that would activate if anybody so much as looked at the screen. It scared the snot out of Snakey. And a wee bit of wee. And that's it. Things that I find hilarious make other people want to barf. Or gouge out their eyeballs. Or throw things at my head. And so that's why the rules are really good. Janus won't write a rule that he will actually properly get annoyed at if I break, because he knows that I will try to find my way around the rule. I get hit on the head by his staff a lot less since we introduced the rulebook. No. You'd have to be a special kind of fool to want to get between Janus and his juice. There is a rule, though, that Janus is only allowed to serve wine that is correctly and accurately labelled. This is because he engaged in a little bit of deception a while back. See, he took a bottle of white wine and dyed it red. He didn't tell anybody, not even me. Colour plays a massive part in our perceptions. You can fool a wine expert with this trick. So, Roman started to call it fruit-forward flavour and lots of tannin, and these things don't really work for white wine. I called it fancy pants grape juice. I think Janus was trying to make some sort of statement about how things are not always as they seem, but when he revealed the deception, Roman got embarrassed and flounced off. The others followed shortly after that. I think Janus was annoyed that he said the truth and it made them so mad at him. So I got a bottle of wine and I dyed it bright blue. And we drank it together and laughed because it tasted weird because of the colour. I liked it. It looked like antifreeze. Remus maintains his own sleep schedule. This allows him to, when inspiration strikes, work into the small hours of the evening. There is a rule in place that states that Remus is not allowed to use sugar, caffeine or energy drinks to supplement the need for sleep for more than a day at a time. This is because when over-caffeinated Remus becomes nearly incoherent, gibbering out words and ideas at a very rapid rate. This doesn't happen often. Remus recognises that the quality of his work is often affected, and he finds it frustrating to have more ideas that he can pursue. Absolutely. I would not hesitate to leave Remus all on his own and unsupervised. Snaky face? Remus, I saw you there. Wait, come back. I know you're lying, but you wouldn't actually really leave, would you? Yes. No. No, I will not leave you. Promise? Promise. Because I don't want to have to break your legs so you can't leave. We are in agreement on that then. I do not want my legs broken. Come here. But I'll get tears all over your shirt. And I care so much more about my stupid shirt than you. I am not sorry. I know. Remus, have you any idea why Logan is suddenly so fascinated by my feet? He asked me my shoe size the other day.
We're testing out an hypothesis.
About what? My shoes?
I'm not allowed to tell you. Logan said so.
What did he say exactly?
He said that, due to the Hawthorne effect, whereby a subject might modify their behaviour and thus render observational data inaccurate if they know that they are being studied, I should not tell you, and I know, dear.
Remus, are you and Logan studying me?
I don't think I'm allowed to tell you.
Let me make sure I've understood this correctly. You, Logan, and you, Remus, have been messing about with my shoes in order to determine whether I have toes or not.
Hardly messing about. We've each been observing and making inquiries about the physiology of your feet.
And, having correctly guessed I would not like to be a science experiment, you decided to work by my back.
You get a bit scary when angry. Like, this is the exact situation I was trying to avoid. I'm glad I hid your staff.
I want that back, by the way. Logan, I'm surprised that you would be involved in this nonsense.
Remus raised the valid point that snakes do not have toes, and was therefore curious to find out if you two shared that reptilian aspect. He was very interested in finding out.
Well, that should have been your first warning that this was a fantastic idea. However, in the interests of putting an end to this ridiculousness, I shall inform you that I do indeed have toes.
Janus, are you lying by any chance?
Lie? Me? Perish the thought.
Well, that could have gone a whole lot better. Indeed, due to Janus's occasionally deceptive nature, I deem his statement insufficient evidence for if he has toes or not. Most vexing not to have satisfactory conclusion. Hey, Sneaky Face. Can I turn your metatarsals into a wind chime, please?
What?
Metatarsals. Toe bones. Assuming that you have them.
For the last time, I have toes.
So I can turn them into a wind chime then?
Yes.
Aww.
Is there a rule about spiders? No. Patton's super freaked out by the little creepy crawlies, and so I'm not going to mess with them, which means there doesn't need to be a rule. Deliberately playing off of somebody's phobias isn't fun. I did give Virgil a fright one time. One of his spiders had shed its skin, and I thought it looked really tasty, so I picked up and scarfed it, and Virgil thought I was munching on his pet. Even when I showed him that all his little web-weaving friends were fine, he still didn't think it was very funny. Which is a shame, because it was kind of tasty. Like pork scratchings without the pork. Noggin! Noggin, Noggin, Noggin!
Yes, Remus?
Can I hang out with you for a bit?
Certainly. I am revisiting facts to keep them fresh in the memory bank.
Can we keep the door shut?
Yes.
And if Snaky happens to be by, can we maybe pretend like I'm not here?
Would I be right in the assumption that you were evading Janus for some reason?
Yeah, he mad.
I gather that you were using the term mad to indicate a state of anger rather than insanity. What did you do?
Well, you know how serotonin is a brain chemical that makes you happy?
Yes, it is a neurotransmitter, thought to have significant impact on mood.
Well, did you also know that serotonin is found in loads of other places, like walnuts and mushrooms and dark chocolate? And wasp sting venom. I might have thrown a wasp or 8 at Janus's head. It did not make him very happy.
That's a nice tune, Remus. French, isn't it?
Yeah. Alouette, gentil alouette, alouette, jus de plumerie. It's all about plucking the feathers from a little bird. What? Starts at the head, jus de plumerie the tête, and then it gets good. Jus de plumerie les yeux. That means I will pluck your eyes.
It's supposed to be a song for children.
Sure. Loads of kiddie songs are twisted. You've got Three Blind Mice, all about dismembering visually impaired rodents, and then, Ring Around the Rosies, all about the plague. All fall down means everyone's dead. We should have a sinister sing-along.
Remus, no.
Pluck's sake, you're no fun. Conflict management and resolution are two vital skills, ones that I believe everybody should be well versed in. Practice, of course, makes perfect. Thus, I do not think I shall be getting myself involved in what is certainly going to be dubbed the Flaming Tar incident. Remus, you have to go and apologise.
Why? You'd never say sorry for anything.
I did not set a large portion of the light side ablaze today, using a modified trebuchet, a barrel of tar, and a live electric eel as the ignition source.
Roman's sash caught fire, and then the eel wrapped around his ankle and zapped him.
The situation was further exacerbated by the fact that some of the fire extinguishers had been replaced with your fire extinguishers, the ones with fire accelerant in them.
Patton's face, when the fire got bigger instead of smaller.
Nevertheless, once the literal smoke is cleared, you are going to have to go and say sorry. We may need to practice so that you are able to deliver an apology without smirking. I'm so sorry, your delicate sensibilities means you've got no sense of humour.
No.
I apologise for bringing just a little bit of fun and excitement into your dull, boring life.
No.
I'm sorry you're so stuck up that...
No.
Apologising is hard.
It is, but I have faith that you can overcome this most heinous of social obligations.
I'm sorry for setting fire to the light side. Not for setting the fire, you understand, because that's kind of what I do when I'm impulsive like that. It means I'm doing my job great as a dark of creativity, and I'm not going to apologise for who I am. I like who I am and I'm proud of what I do. But I am sorry that you got upset and a bit mad. And that sucks. So I'm sorry it sucks. You can tell I'm being sincere because I'm not making any sucking jokes or sucking innuendos. Was that a good apology?
That was the worst one yet.